I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got strength Please be seated. Today's reading is called The Gift by Jerry Lockwood. So this is what Jerry Lockwood writes. Our Subaru Forester was sliding sideways down Interstate 80 at 50 miles an hour. My wife, Nan, had gingerly switched to the left-hand lane to avoid a truck that was overturned on the right shoulder. But no amount of experience, skill, or caution could overcome our car's mass and momentum on a nearly frictionless surface. In an instant, we'd lost traction on the icy highway and were headed toward the wide median between the east and westbound traffic. We'll be all right, just hang on, I said as Nan gripped the wheel. I figured that we might roll once we hit the grassy median, but with seatbelts and airbags, we'd survive. I had time to analyze our chances because the whole event seemed to be unfolding in slow motion. As we slid into the median, we didn't roll. We didn't even slow down. The sleet had glazed the grass so that we skated over 60 feet of frozen ground and headed across the oncoming lanes. Then I saw it coming. A semi-truck barreling toward us. I could see the driver, the silver bulldog hood ornament, the chrome grille. I rationalized that the impact wouldn't be so bad because the road was a sheet of ice and we would bounce off the truck like a hockey puck ricocheting off the boards. Of course, a head-on collision would have been fatal, but I was blessedly unable to grasp my own mortality in the interminable moments as the gap closed. I winced and braced, and then came the bang. We flattened the reflector post on the far side of the highway as the truck roared by on our right. The Subaru tilted hard to the left, then rocked to stillness. My calm detachment gave way to terror and relief. We'd cheated death by a few feet. However, it took days before I understood the gift that had been given to me. The gift was not that we lived, nor did I see survival as some sort of message from the Almighty about a mysterious purpose we had yet to fulfill. The physics of the world on that day simply and disinterestedly unfolded in such a way that the truck missed us. Not because we were special, or good, or called to something great, but just because when you roll the dice, sometimes you get lucky. There was no greater power to thank. The meaning of the near-death experience was for me to make. I don't believe there is a guiding hand of God shoving Subarus onto the shoulders of icy roads, but that does not mean my life has no purpose. I am part of an intractably complex world that gives me the raw material from which I am free to craft the gifts and to make meaning. Gifts that are as authentic as life itself, and meaning that is every bit as real as an oncoming truck. So, when I am trying to decide whether to take the day off of work to be with my family, whether my kids are now too old to kiss goodnight, whether there is time to have lunch with a colleague, whether a neighbor needs a hand clearing his yard after a windstorm, or whether to accept an awkward invitation to dinner from a lonely acquaintance, all of which came up recently, I open my gifts. That concludes the reading from Jerry Lockwood. Let's move into a space of meditation and contemplation. Spirit of life and love, we pause in the stillness to rest for a moment, to quiet ourselves so that we can feel what stirs within us. Each breath draws us closer to the pulse of life, and with each exhalation, we make room for something new. May we find in this gathering the comfort of those who care. As we have traveled through the week, we have all experienced the resilience of hope or the pains of defeat. But we are here together to share our joys and concerns. Please come forward and offer your hopes and defeats and moments of resilience through the week. Do you know how to work the microphone?
Well, just two little things. We're so happy to have a lot of new faces in our sanctuary today. Most of our members seem to be off enjoying the long holiday, so it's nice to see some new faces. So that's my first joy. And my second joy is we had the most wonderful party Wednesday night. Our church was supposed to celebrate our 100th anniversary 2 years ago, but we got nailed by COVID. And so we just had it this week, and we had such a wonderful time, and I hope everybody really enjoyed themselves. I know I did. So those are my joys.
I got a message over Zoom from Marge about some concerns. She writes that, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Bill Soley, former board president, passed away on Friday. On July 29th, his 89th birthday. His wife Bonnie would love cards or calls. So that was the one point Marge made. The other being, she points out that she is very ill with the flu, and she's of course asking about everyone else too, very thoughtful. But she says she came down with it Friday, that it's not COVID, and unfortunately she can't go to the mic herself to voice this, so I'm on her behalf.
The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The universe of love is all around us. So be it, blessed be, and may the church say, Amen.
Amen.
Now let us sing hymn number 123. Oh, no.
Nope.
Offertory.
Offertory.
Thank you. The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and action. This is a great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support the self-supporting church and its ministries. The gift of the congregation will be most gratefully received.
Okay, now 123.
You may remain seated and please sing Spirit of Life, hymn number 123. There is a shrine outside of Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia called Labachu Caves. There are 272 stone steps to walk up to get to the shrine that is located inside a group of caves on the side of a mountain.
Is your mic on, Julie?
It is. It tells me it is.
Thank you.
Okay, now it is? Okay. Monkeys are all around, but don't touch them. Monkeys are not nice. Climbing the stone steps in 90-degree jungle heat requires a good deal of exertion, but I climb 15, 20 steps at a time and then take a break by suspiciously watching a monkey who is suspiciously watching me. Finally, we reach the top and walk into a massive cavern. We descend the stairs, take off our shoes, and enter a Hindu shrine. A service is in progress. I don't know anything about Hinduism, but I realize the people in the temple are the faithful, the believers. They are gathered around a shrine. A leader is speaking, perhaps praying. I watch the bindis placed on the faithful as the service comes to an end. They leave a look on their faces that could be a combination of calm and glee. They gather their shoes and proceed onward through the cave. I sit on a bench with a monkey. We have come to an understanding. I look up at the ceiling of the cave and let the cool, musty air wash over me as I see sunlight through openings at the top. Plants are growing in the openings. My mind travels to Buffalo, where it is 10 p.m. at night and the forecast says a storm will start with winds gusting to 60 miles an hour. You see, there is a tree that has fallen on my house and is becoming more fragile and more unstable as the days go on. I think about how the musty air in the cave at one time has been to Buffalo, has touched my tree, my house, has touched the plants above the ceiling of the cave, and even the monkey on my bench. The shrine is in front of me with whatever gods are inside. Simultaneously, I am the tree on my house and the monkey on my bench. We are all one. And the prayer goes up into the cave. Tree, stay strong for just a few more days. I had traveled to Asia in November of 2019, ostensibly for my 25th anniversary, but hoping to find some sort of experience that would inspire awe in my inconsequential life. My inconsequential life had grown out of control, culminating in the tree that had fallen on my house and turned out to be a difficult matter to remove, with no less than 4 tree companies refusing to touch it. My car had been totaled after church one Sunday when a very nice woman ran a stop sign and T-boned me, my husband, and my daughter. We were all okay. My dryer had caught fire, my toilet stopped working, my life was careening out of control, and here I was flying thousands of miles away to countries that were utterly and completely foreign to me, not on a guided tour, completely on our own, taking 9 planes to 3 different countries, stressed about travel, stressed about trees, stressed about car payments and insurance companies and dry clothes and working toilets. There is this statement of comfort that says that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Yet this statement provides little comfort when the universe decides to exercise great power over our inconsequential existence. The insignificance we feel can be awful and awful at the same time. Awe is indeed a balance between 2 distinct emotions, reverential wonder and fearful dread. The root for awesome is the same root in awful. The 2 very different emotions work in tandem to let us face the immense awe we experience along our journey, woven into our inspirations, embedded into the beauties of the world, and beating inside the universes and the gods. But there is a constant sort of fear and dread that what is beautiful and sublime can be taken away in an instant, that what I have today may not be mine tomorrow, that my joys and happiness are all too transient. And how do we face this reality over and over without losing ourselves in the mire? Facing awe could mean that we stop dead in our tracks, experiencing intense beauty and forgetting about what's next, forgetting about breathing, about living, about acting, forgetting the transience of the gifts given to us. Or facing awe could mean that we get lost in the roulette wheel of the universe. Our Subaru could be careening out of control on an ice-covered Interstate 80, and by sheer coincidence, we don't get splatted. Or facing awe could mean that we simply give up and let go and let God, that we hand our fates over to the predestination plan that was organized by whatever capricious entity we may or may not believe in. But being a people of awe could mean that we subscribe to God doesn't give you any more than you can handle. You know this one, right? It's attributed to Corinthians 10:13. Every test you have experienced is the kind that normally comes to people, but God keeps his promise and will not allow you to be tested beyond your power to remain firm. At the time you are put to the test, he will give you the strength to endure it and so provide you a way out. That's not how I want to face awe, particularly at these times. These times, there can be no letting up or letting go. We cannot be a people who stop and stare at a world that is spinning out of control while hatred is being visited upon our friends and our neighbors, or unjust wars erupt miles away. But how? How do you let go without letting go? My trip turned into a quest to find out. During my travels, I visited Buddhist temples, heard the Muslim call to prayer, and visited a Hindu shrine. The gods were all around me, surrounding me. Thailand, over 90% Buddhist, is filled with temples. And the Buddhist temples, you see images of the Buddha. The Buddha is everywhere. The Buddha is teaching. The Buddha is enlightening. The Buddha is reclining. The Buddha can be seen with all the different mudras. And aching to find a spiritual connection to help heal the pain of the awe of the universe, I sat in the temples, waiting, meditating, and I found nothing. I should have known better. I am a Unitarian Universalist, and as such, I should have known that spirituality isn't always found in the temple. It's like looking for Jesus only in church on a Sunday. But I did find it in the strangest of places, the traffic of Bangkok. A tour guide told us that Bangkok moved from second worst traffic in Asia to worst traffic in Asia. He pointed to the 40-kilometer backup coming into the city as we were leaving on an excursion. And he was right, the traffic was no joke. Our first night in Bangkok was the holiday Loi Krathong. Loi Krathong is celebrated in Bangkok in November by making or buying a small boat made of folded banana leaves and decorating it with candles, flowers, maybe a coin, and clippings of your hair and fingernails. These items are placed in the banana leaf boat with the candles lit and released into the river. The symbolism is to let go of all of the hatred and anger and defilements you have experienced in the year. Well, I had those in abundance. The festival is so popular that the traffic was crazy. A 20-minute Uber ride took an hour and a half to get to the festival. And my banana leaf boat, it was so crowded that it was hard to see it float away, taking with it all of my bad juju. So much for letting go. But that traffic, oh my goodness. On the way back, we took a tuk-tuk. A tuk-tuk is kind of like a souped-up golf cart got married to a motorcycle. It is open air, no seatbelts, no helmets, and traffic rules. They're only for the cars, and even that's debatable. The cars are all over the place. The tuk-tuks meander wherever they want, sides of streets, parking lanes, no rules. But the real rule breakers are the motorcycles. They weave between the cars and the tuk-tuks, actually touching vehicles to maintain balance in slow-moving traffic, and allowing maybe 2 inches of clearance on either side. They work their way to the top of the intersection, and when the light changes, 30 or more motorcycles start speeding down the street, followed by the cars and the tuk-tuks and more motorcycles. Having recently been T-boned, I was a little on edge. It was terrifying to be in this crazy traffic in an open-air buggy that sometimes meandered onto the sidewalks. But you know what was really crazy? No road rage. Seriously, these people turned on a turn signal, and you know what happens? The vehicle in the other lane let them change lanes. There is a level of faith and compassion in their fellow drivers that they will all get to their destinations. There's limited honking, there's no shouting, the drivers are not angry. They happily chat with the passengers in their vehicles and simply go with the flow of the traffic, waving and smiling to the people around them. Instead of conflict, like what would happen here, there is an intense spirit of cooperation. We ended up taking quite a few car trips in Bangkok, and each time I sat in the back seat wondering, what was going through the heads of these drivers? How did they get like this? How were they able to transcend what has to be anger and frustration so that they can work cooperatively with the millions of strangers around them? They must have had some seriously big banana leaf boats on Loy Krathong. But that's really the answer. This strange to me Eastern faith has created a way to let go, to let the anger and hurt go, to be comfortable in the darkness, embracing it even, to let the physics of the Subaru slide across the interstate median, and even so, still progressing to the goal in the spirit of cooperation and compassion in their cars and tuk-tuks and motorcycles and boats, still reaching their home, because we are all one. The traffic of Bangkok was letting go without letting go. It was letting go of the hate and anger with the gods, with the universe, with people. It was letting go of all of that and then finding the resources to hit the reset button and reboot that computer of life. Awe is the inspiration. Awe is the breath of life we take in and the decision we make to breathe it out. It's feeling the pain and the beauty of at the same time and having the determination to move forward. When I went on my trip, I was looking for awe, but not really understanding the immensity of awe, like an infant exploring the world for the first time. I started with no answers, and I found answers in the call to prayer from a mosque in Kuala Lumpur at 5 a.m., stopping to ponder the meeting of the Adhan and the message of God is greater than everything, Allahu Akbar. I found answers in connecting with the interdependent web of life in a Hindu shrine in the Batu Caves, sitting alongside a monkey and sending out prayer for a tree half a world away. I found answers in the lived message of the Buddha in the complex traffic of Bangkok, finding faith again in other travelers on my road. So who are these people of awe? Well, it's me. And it's you. And you who have stopped in your tracks with no way forward, marveling at the capricious mysteries of the universe, whether they were beautiful or hideous, and decided to move forward without anger or hate. You who were filled with loving kindness even when it was difficult. You who were not afraid in the darkness, who was born of magic that fills souls with promise, not despair. It's all of us who have the reverential wonder of the world and at the same time have felt an unknown dread and still moved forward, regardless of the fear we feel. It's all of us who celebrate our own light that sheds the darkness into a time of joy. And it's all of us who look to the unknown and find awe that gives us courage. Let's embrace the choices we make in this moment of awe. And now let's sing. Let's sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Do we have any announcements today?
Well, as it turns out, we actually do. In the course of things, Desi, who's online with us, wanted to say thanks for the pictures from the party that we had this week that she received, and she appreciated those very much. And also, she was commenting that we all know that she took a pretty bad spill and injured her knee rather badly, and she's still recovering from that, but intends to stay with us on Zoom as she recovers. So that's the latest news from Desi, just so that her situation isn't forgotten, that we're made aware.
Other announcements?
Some years ago, we had no way of getting up or down from the location of the doors in this sanctuary, and we built an elevator, and it served us well. At the time we built it ourselves because we couldn't afford to have anybody else come in and do it. And many of us that worked on it knew how to work it pretty well because we built it. But it turns out that nobody knows how to work it, or very few know how to work it now. And so when it acts up a little bit or has a few little requirements, nobody knows how to make it work. I'm going to try to start fixing that situation by having a very short little introduction to what it takes to make that elevator work properly right after church today. It'll be less than 10 minutes before we go downstairs to the potluck. So if you have any interest in learning how to work that elevator, spend a few minutes with me right after church this morning.
Thank you, Peter.
I'm not in charge of anything here, but the people who aren't here today, so I'm taking over. Each week, one of us does coffee hour, and we have a really nice time after church, and we usually have really good food. The fifth Sunday is our potluck, and it's usually really good too. But I was just down there, and I don't think too many people brought food today. So we have watermelon, lots of watermelon, and some chips and coffee. But we always have good conversation and fellowship. So we hope people will come back down after Peter's done with his instructions. So please come down. There's lots of coffee.
That concludes our announcements. Let's close. Let us go forth into the space of the world, balancing our reverential wonder in the universe, finding our joy in unknown places, and living into the holy. Remember, our journeys are long, but we are not alone. Remember, our paths are difficult, but we have each other. And remember, you are one with the world. Blessed be, so be it, and let the church say amen.
Amen.
And now let us extinguish our chalice with the words written in your cover. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of the truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are gathered again.
From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it Thank